We've been sending out little boxes of happiness to chorus people who are struggling with like a happy mug, some tea or hot chocolate, a candle, some fudge and positive affirmation cards. We think of it like, I guess, sending out a hug in a box.
Welcome to Chorus Voices, the podcast brought to you by Chorus, a fresh approach to community service. Settle in, listen in, and enjoy the voices who bring you reflections, musings, and stories from our community.
G'day and welcome to this episode of Chorus Voices. I'm CEO Dan Minchin.
And I'm Head of Brand and People, Lou Forster.
And this podcast is dropping in Men's Health Week, and that's why we decided to start with that little grab before the intro music about something we do at Chorus, the little box of happiness, which is sort of sounds like a token, but actually what we find is it has a huge impact on people's well-being, particularly if they've hit tough times for one reason or another. So I think most listeners would be pretty familiar with the statistics about men's health generally. Generally, men eat and drink more than they should, don't exercise as much as they should, less likely to speak up and less likely to go and see their doctor, and then you end up with some pretty negative consequences. But I guess the idea we're really wanting to explore today is where men have sort of grabbed the bull by the horns, I guess, and dug themselves out of a difficult space and got much better.
When something happens in life, bump in the road, that can potentially spiral health downwards, and then people can make a choice about, pulling themselves back out again.
What happened was 3 years ago, I had a very big accident. I was on the push bike. I was training because I was almost professional cyclist, and I was run over by a car 3 years ago, and I was almost killed. I shouldn't be alive. Even the doctors told me, man, you should be dead. I said, really? Thanks for saving me, because the car just plunged into me when I was on the push bike. And I was for 4 or 5 days in coma, and then when I wake up, I didn't know who I was. And then one of the nurses, about 6 days later, she walked in with another one, and she was saying something about Cheks. And I thought, wow, dear, you just called my name, and my brain opened, I started recognizing who I am and where I am, And so that accident destroyed me completely. I lost the job, I lost the house, I lost my family. They ran away from me, my partner, really bad. She just said, oh, you're on a wheelchair, so I better leave you. So she ran away. And for about a year and a half, I was struggling with the doctors and the specialists from US. And I read of the wheelchair with my very strong inside me, tell me, no, I cannot be on a wheelchair. I have to ride my bike, So after 2 years, I regained 80% of my memory because I lost the whole 80%. I was suffering from depression for about 2 years from the accident. Everybody who I was cherished and loved, they just, disappoint me. So I ended up in a car. I was living in a car for about a month. And then I went to State Housing Commission. I decided, maybe I'll just stop eating. So I stopped cooking for myself, and I ended up in mental hospital for 2 weeks, and because I just want to die, And then, I don't know how come, but I saw this ad with you guys, supplying and helping, like guys like me. And I thought, maybe I'll call you. And I did. And I found this lovely heart, this love, from people. Strange, but I always cherish when someone like me, when someone share my heavy journey, of my life, and I will never forget, from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you. And I know I will survive. I know, and with your help and a lot of my friends and the offshore people. And I know I won't take my life because I really want to die, A few times I was trying so much, it was really tough for me, to really, really tough. And I think God sent you guys to me. So I just want to say thank you very much. And
It's been a really difficult journey for you, and still you're on the journey. Initially, you started, you didn't want to eat, but then why did you decide to kind of contact Chorus and kind of help yourself?
I saw once on the television one of your ads or whatever was story, or maybe on Today Tonight or whatever it was, and I thought something like shake me, something like say, no, you can call. When I saw this chance, I don't know, I grab it, I ask for help. When the first meal arrived, I couldn't believe it, how beautiful it was. I didn't eat for like maybe weeks. There's people that they like me, and so I did ask. When we are really depressed and struggle and really just want to go from this world, sometimes very simple thing, like a little meal, a little handshake, or a little word from somebody else, like lift us up, and then we stop thinking about negative, Stop thinking about dying, stop thinking about leaving this world, I take day by day, and sometimes it's difficult for me, but when I talk to my friends, or I have this beautiful meal for lunch from you guys, and I feel so happy that I am alive. I didn't took my own life because I was so close. Surprising people. I love when people are happy. When I give them this little gift, this little bread and there's a vegetables, or even just to say hello, good morning,
And you're giving food to people from the op shop, is that what you're doing?
Yeah. I get a van and I go to the supermarkets, get the free bread and vegetables, like the one that they, nearly throwing away. And when I bring to the shop, we put them in the little boxes. So the people who come to our shop, they're usually pretty, strugglers,
You just needed a little bit of support, and then now you can sort of give support to other people as well. So it's like a circle, isn't it, to kind of come around.
When I make boxes for food, like the vegetables and bread, and I give it to the person, they could be old lady or young girl or man. When I see their faces, I always tell them, dear, I make this box for you, just like if I make for myself. And they feel so happy,
Yeah.
So I feel the warmth from my heart going to another people who struggle, and they're happy, when I make the box, it's colorful. There's greens and tomatoes and all these vegetables, and they're beautiful colors, When they pick the box, they're like, wow, I'm like a little painter,
Yeah. It's like you've had a sort of a black and white world from the way you're describing it, and you're putting colour back into your world.
Yes. When I see your little van coming into the op shop and I'm there, I'm like, oh wow, my lunch is here, I'll start cooking for myself. I am a person that can do a lot of things. I just need just a little bit support at the moment, because it's tough for me. Yeah, I will sort this out.
Food gives you that sense of it's comfort, and it's showing care, isn't it, and friendship, and clearly you're getting the meals, and that's the effect it has on you as well.
Yeah, no, I'm telling everyone that even when I Jenny or Mandy comes along, and I'm walking with my little lunch, and I'm showing everyone. I said, "This is for me. This is my little present."
And do you think that when you get the meals, it gives you a sense of being like worthwhile? Is that what you get out of it?
Yes. It gives me the time that I know that people also like me. The people are nice.
Yeah, it's incredible, really, because if you think about it, it's on one level it's just having a meal delivered, but it's not really, is it? It's so much more.
No.
More. Yeah.
That meal opened my heart, you know, for the first week or 2 weeks afterwards, when I start eating and I start looking after myself a little bit more and a bit more and a bit more. So that meal, it really put me back on my feet. You know, it's just I cherish every time I cook or warm up or this meals. Just take pictures of it. I send the pictures to my friends. Of the meal. Yeah, I do. I do on my Facebook. You know, on message or whatever.
You might be famous,
you know?
Like influencer or something with your pictures of your meals.
Because I'm proud of it, you know. It's like one of my friends said to me, "Oh, you should get yourself a good woman and she'll cook for you." I said, I don't think so. Look at the meal I have now. It will be hard to match up. And they're laughing. I just make them laugh, you know. Because I'm a happy person, you know. Like I tell you, if you saw me and you met me about 6 months ago, you would never recognize me. I was a destroyed person. I was completely, out of whack, you know. But now I am on my feet. I'm happy. I have beautiful rabbit on my balcony. I got someone to look after, you know. I'm happy, you know. And
do you share your food with the rabbit? Do you? Or?
maybe the peas, green peas.
The green peas.
That friendly smile or the friendly phone call from you guys, you know, was just putting me back on my feet again and again, and I'm like, wow, you know, I will be around.
Chek's story is pretty confronting and daunting, really. We heard how low he got, but then there was a sort of something small trigger, and he spoke up, I guess, was ultimately what seems to have turned things around for him.
Just finding that motivation or something to give you purpose, I think. You see people with pets or connections to other people. It's that purpose that keeps people moving, and for Chek it was the meal, and it just turned things around.
And for blokes, with things like employment and status as a man and all that sort of stuff, identity becomes a big part of it. And whether through an accident, through sort of a big bump in the road, as we just heard, or just through general poor health, you can see how men's lives can sort of spiral a little bit. Sometimes it is just a case of where is that connection, where is that purpose, how might I rebuild little step at a time.
And it did remind me of our loneliness podcast series at the beginning of 2019, and we talked to some guys then that had journeys similarly, and for me the connection was, or the lack of connection with other people, that social isolation and loneliness had a really big impact. But people, when they made connections with the community or others, were able to kind of find that purpose and get on the road to kind of recovery.
We didn't want this chat to be negative, critical, scolding, because men like myself, we've all heard these messages before. I've got a dad and a brother and 2 sons, and I guess we all think about our health differently, possibly a little bit of a generational aspect. But look at my sons who are teenagers now, and really trying to instill in them habits around fitness and eating well, and speaking up and talking about how they're feeling as well, the sort of mental side of things. And I think that's something that's changing a lot in society at the moment, and the way we try and get around our boys and encourage them to speak up.
And even at Chorus, we're very much about keeping people safe and well, and that includes everyone speaking up about what they need. And so hopefully we create an environment where people feel, and men and women alike, feel that it's okay to say if they're not feeling great, and
it's okay not to be okay,
it's okay
right?
not to be okay. It sure is.
And that's that's such a simple sort of catchphrase, and just never been truer of men. And I think about the men that I know, there's the full range of people who do speak up and people who don't. But it's probably more in the conversation for me and my generation than it would have been for my dad and his. And definitely my boys, I mean, when you're young, you think you're unbreakable, so there's always a little bit of a challenge in getting young men to take this sort of stuff seriously. But again, as we know, that unbreakable mindset can lead to challenges and problems of its own with injuries and accidents and things like that. So, we worry about our boys and we worry about men for good reasons.
Yeah, and that key message that it's okay to get help and, talking can bring about positive change.
So that's the episode, the Men's Health Week Chorus Voices podcast for now. Thank you very much, Lou.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks for listening to Chorus Voices, the podcast brought to you by Chorus. If you like our show and wanted to know more, check out our website at chorus.org.au. And please leave a review. We'd love to hear your feedback, and it helps others find us and enjoy the podcast as well. Join us next time for more inspiring stories and news from our community. Chorus, a fresh approach to community service.